let me tell you the biggest reasons why people sell Archer Aviation so you don't have to. Right, guys, so my name's Liam. I am one of the Hustle Brothers here. And yes, we have been doing a ramp up on daily news around Archer Aviation. I believe it's helping the industry. And yeah, today we're facing one of the biggest problems we've faced in the stock so far. We're getting people selling Archer Aviation. You'd kind of be wondering what's the reasons for this, and I'm going to list many of them today just so you don't fall into the same category. But first, I'm going to actually say a bit of a bonus one. I think a major part for Archer Aviation is that whole knowledge gap in the industry. I think it's the fact that people aren't fully aware what they're investing in, the whole air taxi infrastructure. Guys, and you don't know, it's an air taxi business. So really, they have a vehicle called Midnight, fully electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle. They're going to be passengering around on short intercity trips. It's a new mode of public transport. They're going to be priced at a range of a premium Uber ride. So it'll be around the same price you'd pay for a yellow taxi in New York or a black cab in London. They're going to convert, 30 to 45 minute trips into around 10 to 15 minutes long. So look, we can see the whole use case for it. The battling certification at the moment. But yeah, the whole knowledge gap is the problem. People aren't fully aware what they're invested in. Even if you are full aware of the whole business case, I just think you're not being updated enough, and that's one of the first reasons why people start to sell out. And that's one of the reasons why I'm dropping videos every single day to try and fill that knowledge gap. So in return, please smash that like button. It's the only thing I do ask you to do for me. But yeah, let's get into the juicy stuff. Why do I believe people are selling out? What is the biggest reason for people to sell out? So number one, I think they're comparing them too much to competition. Now, we'll get into Joby in a minute, but the amount of people I have coming to me, and I am fully aware they are Archer investors because they've been asking me about Archer for the last year, 2 years. And they're asking me to review Beta Technologies, they're asking me to review Eve, Horizon, and then what's my stance on Archer versus Joby. And I think sometimes I don't think these guys fully know enough about Archer Aviation to be warranting asking about any of the other competition. Let's first fully understand the used business case of what you're invested in first, and then we can get into some of the competition. Because look, we're all facing the same problem at the moment. We're all going through that whole certification pathway. Yes, Joby are so much further ahead. Joby will get there first. But Joby's only able to push out around 50 S4. Anyone that doesn't know what an S4 is, it's their own electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle. Look, both of them, Archer and Joby, they're going for intercity routes. They're going to carry 4 passengers and the pilot. They look two completely different vehicles. Archer does look more, militarized or something. I think it does look like a cool vehicle where you could see S4s swarming a city. But look, just because a Honda Civic looks completely different to a Mercedes-Benz, we've said it before, if you're ordering an Uber, you don't care whether you get in a Toyota Corolla or you get in a Tesla, really. As long as it's convenient, as long as it's nicely priced for you and gets you from A to B, you don't really care. So I think we need to take away from the fact that what performs better, what looks better. Yes, Archer's going through a few problems at the moment with the ability to show a piloted transition flight. Look, they started much later than Joby. The only first were founded in 2018, where Joby was all the way back in 2009. So it doesn't surprise me that Joby is that little bit further ahead. Archer's been doing well to keep up so far. Look, they've around 2 billion in cash in the books. They'll sort out that tilt rotor design. Do not worry about it. We've said it all this week. It's going to turn into a completely different race once we come to full commercialization. Even if Archer were a year, 2 years behind, you'll get 100 S4s pumped out from Joby. Do you think 100 S4s is going to make much of a difference in the grand scheme of things? Archer has the Covington, Georgia factory that can produce up to 950 Midnight per year once it's on full ramp up. We'll see mass expansion there. We do have that Stellantis partnership with Archer. Look, it's probably not as strong as a Toyota partnership that you do have with Joby, but it's still an auto manufacturer. So they're well used to ramping up mass scale out. All Archer really need is guidance on the manufacturing level, really. They then have Palantir Technologies, a nice partnership with them. They're going to help map out the whole infrastructure, the logistics, help them with their Archer booking app. Look, it's not exclusive. Joby potentially could go in and have a partnership with Palantir. We know Lilium themselves had a partnership with Palantir, and you know where Lilium gone. They got delisted. So Palantir is not going to save anyone. But look, don't worry about selling Archer Aviation. There's no reason to sell Archer Aviation at the moment. I feel like, why have you come this far? Why have you invested this much? We're getting so close to certification. This industry is only going to start coming to fruition now. And it feels like people are just giving up hope on the final hurdle. Some of you guys have been invested 3 or 4 years, and we're coming into the final few months before Joby gets certified. Once Joby gets certified, that whole certification pathway has been more or less streamlined. We know exactly what needs to be ticked off. Look, they are 2 completely different vehicles, so it's not just going to be a tick-the-box exercise. But once Joby do come to certification, it shows that the government and the FAA do believe in this whole air taxi vision. We've seen Brandon Robinson, the Horizon CEO, come out and say Archer and Joby have done the hard work when it comes to lobbying and getting the government to more or less, and the FAA, to look at this whole eVTOL vision. And it's going to cost so much less money for, I don't know, the 0.2 eVTOLs to start coming to fruition. So look, race is not over. The race is only starting once commercialization takes place. I'm as bullish on Archer as I have ever been. I actually think we're being given a gift at the moment. The fact that everyone's so fearful. It feels like the only people buying Archer Aviation at the moment is people that are already invested in it. It gives us a massive, massive opportunity to stack up at these levels between $8 to $10. We did push over that $10 briefly during the intraday 2 days ago, but look, we're back around the $9 range. I'm still adding. I actually think right up until about 11.70 I'll keep adding. Jump into the comments. Let me know, are you a new Archer investor? Are you just an Archer investor that keeps adding stock at the moment? Look, I think it'd be stupid to come to the fact that if you are only invested in Archer Aviation, I myself, and it's not financial advice, am invested in Joby and Archer. Archer has now slightly pipped Joby in my portfolio. It has gone a bit higher just because I just think Archer is a steal at this price. But we don't know what's going to happen with any company. I just don't want to go into the fact that, look, I could have got the industry right, but I've got the wrong company. So that's why I'm bullish on both companies. So then we need to get into the eVTOL integrated pilot program, and I'm actually really bullish on this whole scenario. So anyone that doesn't know, this is where the Department of Transportation and the FAA are going to sort of lax up a little bit, and they're going to make it a lot more easier and help with the infrastructure for test flights around cities. Now, look, Archer Aviation are a prime candidate to more or less flex their muscles, spread their wings, and demonstrate their technology, demonstrate what a outstanding vehicle Midnight is. Yes, we're getting all them eVTOL flights at the moment. We had that 55-mile flight not that long ago. It was done in 45 minutes, 120 mile an hour. 120 mile an hour, guys, is going to be the speed we're going to expect day to day from the Midnight aircraft. But not long after that, we had a record height flight of 7,000 feet. 7,000 feet, that was done at 126 miles an hour. So, look, we were raising the bar a little bit there with the speed. And then came out yesterday. I haven't got the official announcement from Archer, but our very own Dylan Rogers did get it on Flight Tracker, going to a height of 10,000 feet. And that was done, again, 56 miles, I believe, this time. And that was done in 25 minutes, 146 miles an hour. So you're going to wonder why we're demonstrating the eVTOL configuration. And anyone that doesn't know what eVTOL is, it's a conventional takeoff and landing. So really like your everyday aircraft. Look, we said it earlier in the video, we're struggling a little bit with that vertical takeoff and then transition into horizontal configuration once we're up in the air with a pilot on board. But look, 95% of these flights are going to be done in horizontal flight, so it doesn't worry me one bit. These tests needed to take place. You're going to wonder why we're flying at these heights. Look, air taxi corridors. We're going to be flying in corridors. So just like your conventional jetliners fly in more or less air highways across, say, the Atlantic, the Pacific Ocean, the same way the air taxis will be going in a range of around 1,500 to 4,000 feet. Going to 7,000 feet, going to 10,000 feet. That shows the ability to evade air traffic. If there's a lot of traffic in these highways, air traffic control, and again, bullish on Palantir, is going to signal to the pilot to climb to a height, just so you don't cause any collision. But then our pilot on this channel did say that the reason they also test at them sort of heights is because, look, at sea level, the air is a certain density. It's even more dense the lower in the atmosphere you go. Now, when you're at an airport at 4,000 feet, the aircraft doesn't believe it's at sea level. It believes the air is at 4,000 feet. So if you lift off 4,000 feet off the ground from that airport, the aircraft believes it's at 8,000 feet high, even though you might be in a flight corridor of, say, I don't know, 1,500 to 4,000 feet. The aircraft is fighting the air at 8,000 feet. So it's a great demonstration. We would like to see a hover at this stage once we get that transition. It would show that the aircraft has the ability to hover in a lower dense atmosphere. Look, we're not expecting it to fly to the top of Mount Everest, but at the same time, we do have airports all at different heights across the world. Then, look, we're building the vertiport infrastructure around Archer Aviation. So any guys that don't know, it's going to be these charging networks. It's going to be like a mini airport or a bus stop. Let's put it that way. Look, they have many, many partners across the world that are helping them build the infrastructure of this. They're getting them built in the likes of the UAE. We already know that SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles is building a vertiport at the stadium. Archer is a partner of the 2028 Olympics, so it's going to be another show of force at the Olympics. Look, just off the top of my head, I did do a video the last day breaking down. You need around 555 aircraft running every single day, doing 18 flights just to service New York City public transportation needs at 1% of the population that use public transport. This is not visitors. This is not passengers to airports. This is just everyday use. So we can say we could expect more or less the same at Los Angeles just to service the city alone. And then can you imagine how much during an event like the World Cup, the Super Bowl, the Olympics, it's going to be immense, the amount of aircraft that could be required. We have had an article come out saying thousands, if not 10,000s, would be needed at such events. Look, we're not expecting them sort of numbers around 2028 Olympics. We're only going to be rolling out the mass scale out. I think a big thing we need to remember as investors, whether you're invested in Archer, whether you're invested in Joby, it's going to be a bit of a slog for the next few years, even after certification, once we get into commercialization, because it's just going to go into mass manufacture, mass ramp up. It's not just going to be, look, we're going to be profitable in the next few months. It's going to take a little bit of time, but look, this is going to be $1 trillion industry. We're only in the early doors yet. And guys, do let me know, have you had any fear over the past while with Archer Aviation? Be honest with me. Don't just say, look, I'm Archer through and through. I'm a bull and I've never been scared. I don't mean have you sold Archer Aviation, but just have you had any fear around that at the moment? Please list your reasons why, and we can have a little bit of a discussion. And again, smash the like button. We'll see you tomorrow.